The Conservative Party has been in and out of power, but certainly constantly next to the levers of government for almost 200 years. And you don't stay in that sort of position for that length of time without having developed a survival instinct that a cockroach might envy. And despite all their problems, it looks like the Conservatives have come out fighting. I can say this for Rishi Sunak, he's a devious little bugger and he's backed by a clique of political sharks as poisonous as the Borgias. But they've certainly come up with a corker on this occasion. While the Labour Party promises, when in power, to push through anti-Islamophobia legislation that most people with brains consider no less than a Muslim blasphemy law, the Conservatives are making much of their anti-Muslim extremism fight to protect the British people, something that they seem to have been holding in reserve all this time, until the run-up to another general election. I'm Grannyopteryx. OK, so we might be having an election. According to Lee Anderson, it could be as early as May. It might be next September. It's not going to be much later than that. And there is this headline in the Daily Telegraph. This was yesterday, as I'm making this video. Muslim groups that incite hatred to be named as extremists by government, it says here. All government funding and links to the organisations will be cut as Michael Gove unveils new definition of non-violent extremism. Now, there is an update to that, which appeared this morning, and this is in the live section of the Telegraph. 3 Muslim groups to be investigating over extremism fears, says Michael Gove. 3 Muslim groups were named as divisive Islamist organisations as Michael Gove set out his plans in the Commons to crack down on extremism. The Communities Secretary also identified 2 far-right groups as being a growing worry for intimidating minorities. And those 2 far-right groups are, the British National Socialist Movement and Patriotic Alternative. The 3 Muslim groups are MEND, that's Muslim Engagement and Development, CAGE, and the Muslim Association of Britain, MAB. The 2 right-wing groups, we've already done that. So they're coming up with the idea that people will feel that the government is doing something about the situation. For instance, the situation with the Muslim groups in Oxford Street, which are shutting down commerce every Saturday and some other days as well. And the fact that Parliament had a rule change because of Muslim mobs outside Parliament at the time they were working on this particular debate they were supposed to be having. It says here, Muslim groups that incite hatred and undermine democracy will be named and shamed. This is from yesterday's paper. The point is that this could all have been sorted out without any grand announcements if the government had simply told the police to do what they're supposed to do. That is, arrest people inciting racial hatred or calling for the death and murder of people. For instance, I don't have the photograph, but I'll put it up here. This, a very famous picture. It shows a lot of people, you know who they are, and they are, announcing to the world that they would prefer murder of people who insult Islam. And they should have been arrested. Now, they weren't. And then we have that instance only the other day when an Iranian protester held up a placard saying Hamas is terrorist, and the police arrested him. They arrested him in a very violent way. They threw him to the ground. They handcuffed him. This wasn't for his own safety, right? And then one of the policemen crumpled up the poster as if to say, you're causing trouble here. I just want to crumple you up and get rid of you, and let those people say their hateful stuff, chant their genocidal chants and take over the street any way they want, because that's the people I'm going along with. Now, if the government had told the police not to do that, then all of this wouldn't be necessary. Those mobs wouldn't have been outside Parliament, and they won't be choking Oxford Street every Saturday. But this, you see, this looks a lot more positive. This makes people more afraid. In fact, they're using the correct words: extremism and fears. So this is putting into people's minds the idea that this government are protecting us from the extremism of which we have to be rightfully frightened. So this is an election ploy, because all they had to do was get the police to apply the law. But that's too quiet and not obvious enough. And meanwhile, everyone knows that the Labour Party are going to put an Islamophobia bill through if they get into power. So, yeah, here we have the words extremism, fears. Project Fear, which was used for the Brexit or the anti-Brexit argument, they're now using the same idea for the Muslim problem that a lot of people are perceiving. So it's a very good election ploy, and it might just win them the election. They might just squeak through on this. OK. Well, as I said, devious. They're not doing anything else, and they're not doing their job. But on this occasion, they're going to convince people they are. Right. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo, with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com, and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.